Well, hello. My name is Tim Ingold. I'm an emeritus professor of social anthropology at the University of Aberdeen, and I'm speaking here from my study in my home in Aberdeen in Scotland. And I want to tell you in a few words about my own vision of what anthropology is and why the world, very much needs it. So here's my definition of anthropology. In my understanding, anthropology is a generous, open-ended, comparative, and yet critical inquiry into the conditions and possibilities of human life in the one world we all inhabit. So let me go through each of those four key characteristics of anthropology. The first is that it is generous. By generous, I mean that anthropologists are prepared to listen and respond to what other people are telling us. Rather than trying to extract information forcibly or by deceit, we accept and learn from the wisdom of other people and give back for what we have received. That's what I mean by generous. Anthropology is open-ended in the sense that it's not looking for final solutions to the problems of life. Final solutions have brought nothing but catastrophe to human history throughout the ages. What anthropology does is rather to join in different ways of living and see how it might be possible to carry them on. That's to say, it's devoted to the principle of sustainability, meaning by that not some kind of final balance to things, but how life can be carried on presently and into the future. Then anthropology is comparative in the sense that it recognizes that every way of living is in a sense an experiment, a collective experiment in how humans can live their life in the world. And we recognize in anthropology that there are many ways of living and that no way is necessarily any better, any superior to another. So we want to learn from the comparison, but by looking at different ways of life and how they work, how they succeed, how they don't, and how we might learn from them. And then finally, anthropology is critical in the sense that we cannot be content with things as they are. I mean, by general consent, the systems of production, distribution, governance, control that have dominated the modern era have brought the world to the brink of disaster. And we have to find ways of moving beyond that. And that means that we cannot simply remain content with things as they are. So the task for anthropology, and the reason we need it so much, is that we have to address the collective question for humanity, an ethical question, that is the question of how should we live? How should we live now in the world so that there could be life and prosperity for the generations, not just of human beings, but of all the other beings with which we share our planet for generations to come? So we are faced with a collective task for all of us, all human beings on the planet, in this one world that we all inhabit. We are faced with this collective task to forge a world fit for future generations. And in that task, we need all the help we can get. We can't assume that anybody already knows the answers. We can't suppose that any science or any philosophy or any group of indigenous people or anybody else in the world already has the answers, if only we could find it. Nobody has the answers of how to live, but we have to keep on trying to find them, and finding them is something that we all have to do together. And it would be simply madness to exclude from that conversation, from that task, the wisdom and experience of people developed over generations from all around the world. And what makes anthropology special, I think unique amongst academic disciplines, is that it is prepared to listen to and to take seriously what other people, whatever their backgrounds, wherever they live, what other people know and understand from their own experiences of life, from their own traditions, from their own stories, from what they have learnt from previous generations of their own societies. And what we as anthropologists do is then not just study them, we don't treat them, other people, as objects of study. Rather, we study with them. We go to study with them in order to learn from that accumulated wisdom that they have, and then to bring that wisdom to bear onto this question in which we're all caught up as to how should we live now and into the future. And I believe that no other discipline does that, not even in the social sciences. We tend to treat, in academia, we tend to treat people as objects, as data for analysis. We listen to what they have to say, not for what it says in itself, but for perhaps what it tells about them. But in anthropology, we are not studying people in order to analyze them, to make them into objects of inquiry. We are studying with people in order to learn from them in such a way that together we can try and forge a way of living for generations to come. And that is the particular task of anthropology. And I believe that no task in the current academic environment is more important. So there you go. That's why we need anthropology. Thank you very much for your attention. And I'll stop there.